After confessing to his boss, he refused. Grief-stricken, I offered a raise, and he agreed. I thought my relationship was over. I am going to pursue it by changing objects. The boss was in a hurry. No office romances, unless it's with me. 1. I'm sorry, I don't like you. Elmer Hansen in front of him had a cold brow, and his slender hand was holding the document, looking down at the papers. He didn't give me a single look. I had just confessed to my boss, and instantly became a clown. I was stunned, my mind racing to say something. Hey, aren't you leaving? Elmer Hansen closed the file and looked up. The moon-like face was a little surprised, and his tone was calm. Something to do to solve this awkward situation. My mind was racing. Suddenly, the gears in my head stopped suddenly. Elmer Hansen, can you give me a raise? What are you talking about? Phoenix beard, you pure idiot. As soon as the words came out, I felt like I was done. Will you be fired on the spot, and then take a compensation home? Of course, that seems to be good. But my crush for so many years came to an end today. My eyes were red and my nose was sore. I was just about to apologize and run out of the leader's office like a coward. I only saw Elmer Hansen on the other side pursing his thin lips, and the sunlight outside the window reflected the corners of his eyes and eyebrows. He raised a frown, then nodded slightly. Okay, I'll send a message to HR. Yes. I was stunned. I confessed to my boss and was rejected, and my boss promised me a raise. Elmer Hansen opened the notebook in front of him, his knobby fingers tapping lightly on the keyboard. I see that your performance appraisal is good. Is it okay to get a 50% salary increase? Yes. Let's start this month. I'll tell the accountant. I walked out of the office in despair, paid 50% more than my peers. The feeling of the end of my crush made my heart sore and swollen, but the corners of my mouth are harder to press. I succeeded in raising my salary. Elmer Hansen is really my male god. Sure enough, I didn't like the wrong person. Actually, being rejected is easy to understand, right? Haha, after all, the other party is the pride of the sky. Haha, when I got home, I thought about it and opened Weshit to message Elmer Hansen. Elmer Hansen, what do you say today? It's just that you lost the big adventure. It doesn't mean anything else. You don't take it personally. The other party did not reply. 10 minutes later, I refreshed it. Elmer Hansen, thank you so much for giving me a raise. In fact, when I say I like you, I just tease you. We've known each other for so long, and if you want to like it, you'll like it for a long time. This is the custom of our hometown, and today we have to deliberately tell lies to amuse others. 20 minutes later, the other party still did not reply. I lay on the bed tossing and turning, so embarrassed that I had to cut out the 3-bedroom apartment. Ha 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 ha, I want to die. I looked at the current time, 8 o'clock in the evening, neurotic sleep at this point. But Elmer Hansen still didn't reply to me. I can probably understand what he means. If you don't like me, you don't give me any hope. Ha 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 ha, what a considerate man. It's okay, and the cold money comforts me. Damn, but why? My eyes are still peeing. I'm still a little expecting Elmer Hansen to hear back from me, but I waited like this, all night, and so on. Dark circles. The other party's profile picture has not lit up in my circle of friends. It's not like he didn't see the news. At 9 o'clock, he was still in the group to arrange the next day's work. It's just, he didn't want to get back to me. Actually, I've had a crush on Elmer Hansen for a long time. Elmer Hansen is my senior. We went to the same university together. He is from the School of Management and Economics, and I am from the School of Computer Science. In college, he is already a man of the year in the school, with a wealthy family background, and a handsome and sparse family. Many people like him, but he has never accepted anyone's confession. At that time, I was a problem solver in a small town, and I chose the most lucrative major, by virtue of my scores. But the first computer required me to go to a part-time job to earn money to buy it. My mom sells egg scones for me, so I set up a stall on the street next to the school to sell them. Because I did a good job, my peers were jealous of me. A couple of tall men smashed my stall. One of my colleagues threatened me. Little girl, don't be ignorant. You can try it again tomorrow. I was thrust by the same colleague and fell to the ground, and my car was pushed to the ground by them. Eggs and pots and pans smashed to the ground. I was embarrassed and helpless to protect the car. There was a group of people around to watch the excitement, and some wanted to say a few words for me. Then the strong man slandered me and said, "This is a junior who cheated my brother out of money. Don't sympathize." The people around him talked a lot, afraid of causing trouble, and they didn't know whether it was true or not. There was no one to help me. At that time, Elmer Hansen appeared in front of me like a cold sword cutting through the darkness. He was wearing a tracksuit and carrying a badminton racket, as if he had just finished exercising. Walking in the morning light between the man and me, the voice was cold. "This is a student in our school, not a junior as you say. Please don't slander others. I've called the police, and the police will be there soon." Elmer Hansen turned to me and asked, "Classmate, can you stand up? It's just a sentence." But it made me, who had been holding back and not crying just now. Tears welled up in his eyes. When the police arrived, Elmer Hansen followed me to the police station, and he explained clearly why the bullies had been detained. Because I was slapped in the face and pushed down again, Elmer Hansen secured 10,000 yuan in compensation for me. When I walked out of the police station, I thanked him repeatedly. His voice was calm. "It's okay, I know you. You have participated in the National Electronic Invention Technology Competition, and won the 3rd prize. Your current research field is somewhat related to my family's industry. I am more impressed by you. Those people won't bully you in the future. You're very powerful. Work study." Just a few compliments made me blush instantly. I was about to be humbled, when Elmer Hansen's cell phone rang. He said sorry and quickly picked up the phone. On the other end of the line was a girl's delicate voice. "Hey, Elmer Hansen, why are you going? Don't hurry home yet. I came to your house for dinner, and my aunt asked me to tell you to hurry home." I saw with my own eyes that his cold eyebrows softened little by little. It's like an epiphany blooming in the night. I thought the girl was Elmer Hansen's girlfriend, but later, I learned that the girl's name was Nelly Johnny, and she was Elmer Hansen's haircut. I saw her on Weibo. Her family is also wealthy, and she talks about many boyfriends. There are starlets, internet celebrities, and some people I don't know. It's all handsome guys, but there was no Elmer Hansen. I've seen a photo of Nelly Johnny and Elmer Hansen. The caption reads, "My best brother." Maybe they're just friends. I naively thought so. It was later discovered that it was a sad story. Elmer Hansen likes her. She loves to play. Elmer Hansen could only accompany him silently. Then Elmer Hansen invited me to join the studio he had started in college, asked me to help with some projects, and gave me money. I'm thankful to Elmer Hansen, who helped me with my living expenses at university in a way. After working in Elmer Hansen's studio for the 3rd month, he learned that I had bought a second-hand computer. He gave me a new computer. It's more efficient. It's like a chestnut that burns red bursts in an instant, revealing a soft and sweet fruit. An emotion called liking spread rapidly from my heart. I restrained this feeling, which I considered sinful and undeserved. It wasn't until her senior year that Nelly Johnny became pregnant unexpectedly and got engaged to study abroad with another rich second generation. I've always wondered if I could have a crush on Elmer Hansen, but I persevered. I just silently had a crush on him, and I didn't dare to disturb him who was going through the wet rainy season in his heart. I've been working with Elmer Hansen for 3 years in the same company. I couldn't restrain my feelings anymore. I confessed, and then was rejected haha, because it's so embarrassing. I kind of wanted to hide from Elmer Hansen. Elmer Hansen is self-disciplined and is one of the first people to come to the company every day. I knew that to avoid him, I would go to the meeting late. As a result, that day, he also came late. I had just gotten on the elevator, and was about to close the door and hurry upstairs. A long, fair-skinned hand blocked the elevator door that was about to close. I looked up, and Elmer Hansen walked into the elevator in a black suit with a cold expression. The elevator was just me and him at this point. The air seemed to be tense. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to pick my toes, so I quickly turned my back to the elevator door. It's like a schoolboy who has been thinking about it. I frantically swiped my phone against the elevator wall to play Fat Goose Gym, gradually eliminate embarrassment in synthetic games, until I heard his cold voice. "Your floor is here." Yes, I woke up suddenly, panicked and almost threw myself out of the elevator. I walked out of the elevator a few steps quickly, but I couldn't help but turn back. The elevator doors were about to close, but I could see it clearly. The corners of his lips lifted. Compulsory education from childhood to adulthood taught me that if you work hard, you will succeed. I want to work hard, because I really like it. No one wants to be a substitute for the rest of their lives. At least try once to see if they have a chance to play. I want to show him all my good qualities like a peacock opening the screen. And I want to show him that he can get value after being with me. If it's true that I've put in all my efforts, and the other party is still not moved, then I won't regret it. How to pursue him without disturbing him? I began to think carefully. First of all, the first step is to work hard, and create your own value in the company. Since Elmer Hansen is now taking us on a project, I decided to start working on it. I cut back on the time I spent going to the toilet at work. I also no longer talk to other colleagues about the gossip and fishing. Every day is just a matter of typing code. My unusual behavior was soon discovered by my colleague Bennett Johnny next to my desk. Bennett Johnny is a resident fisherman, and he's very unhappy with my hard work. Bennett Johnny has exaggerated brown hair. He is still naturally curly, and when he comes over, he looks like a curly puppy. The curly puppy is my colleague, and my gossip friend. He seems to know the gossip of the whole company, and maybe that's what the database came from. Bennett Johnny watched me crack their typing code, and he pinched the bag of chips in agony. Those beautiful amber eyes were full of grief. Has something happened to your family? I can give you money if you are short. You are now a capitalist dog, every day. I ignored him. It is said that Bennett Johnny has a bit of a background in his family, and he retires here, but I can't. What's more, I still want to work hard to improve Elmer Hansen's favorability. I pulled out a protein bar from the drawer and handed it to him. Eat. I'll be busy a little longer. Bennett Johnny held the protein bar, and took a step back in surprise. Phoenix Beard is crazy. At this time, the colleague next to him patted Bennett Johnny on the shoulder and said, "Get out of the way. I'm going to for pay. It's good that everyone else is normal." Bennett Johnny patted his chest. The curly-haired puppy came up next to me, and I ignored him, and he was even more energetic. "Do you know the story of our company's front desk?" "I don't want to hear it. I'm typing code," I said coldly. "Then do you know that Zhang Jua on the second floor was sent a blade?" Puppy chattering. "Shut up. Do you know the secret of Elmer Hansen, the boss of our company?" I pricked up my ears. I suspect he likes men. In my ears was the cheering sound of a puppy that caught my attention. "Get out. In addition to working hard to show your worth, I also decided to improve myself." Like a peacock going crazy to open the screen in front of Elmer Hansen, I took off my big rim glasses, and put on my contact lenses. Swapped the sweatshirt and sweatpants for a slim-fitting suit skirt. When I wore this to the company, Bennett Johnny squirted out a mouthful of milk tea. A pearl streaked across the sky and stuck to the tie on my chest. I frowned, and Bennett Johnny hurriedly ran over on his long legs, reaching out and snatching the pearls from my tie. "I'm sorry, Phoenix Beard." "Humph." I smiled coldly, remembering my beauty today, and returned to my desk indifferently. I'm nervously looking forward to today's lunchtime meeting, and Elmer Hansen will definitely see me as beautiful and adorable today. I'm a little bit confident in myself. After all, I'm just too lazy to dress up. My back is straight today. Bennett Johnny sat next to me, wearing an orange sweatshirt with a recent hot anime character. He got up a little uncomfortable, leaned over and asked me, "You're too formal today. I don't even dare to talk to you. Can't I just dress up?" I gave Bennett Johnny a blank look. No, I mean, you look good in a dress." He grinned, a cheerful smile that showed his little pointed tiger teeth. Bennett Johnny complimented me like that, so Elmer Hansen would have seen it. At the company's regular meeting, Elmer Hansen didn't look at me at a glance. He kept his eyes on the other subordinates, and explained in a cold voice, "I'm a little lost. How could he not even see me? A lot of people in the company notice me today, and he didn't even notice it. I'm still the last one to leave after work." When the elevator door opened, I saw a tall figure in a suit inside. Elmer Hansen stood in front of me coldly, and I hesitated to get into the elevator. -2 or the first floor. The man inside had already asked, and was about to press the floor for me. "First floor." I hurried into the elevator. It was another time for the two of us to be alone, and my cheeks were red, and I wanted to say something, but didn't dare to say it. The air froze a little at this moment. It looks like it's raining tomorrow. The man's cold voice came from above me. Roger, the humble worker subconsciously replied. I mean, remember to wear more tomorrow. I subconsciously looked up, and a small, dizzy me was reflected in the eyes of the other side, that were as clear as a quiet lake. I went home in a daze. When I was lying on the bed, my heart seemed to be pounding with many shots, and clumps of roses came out of the muzzle. He's caring about me, right? The next day, sure enough, it rained, and I put on my sweatshirt and sweatpants. When I walked into the office, I looked at the workstation next to me. Bennett Johnny, dressed in a black suit, was sitting in a precarious position, and when he saw me coming, he turned his head to laugh at me. To like someone is to be easy to be sentimental. The other party showed favor a little bit, and felt that he had a chance. Just because Elmer Hansen cares about me, I think I'm okay again. I know Elmer Hansen drinks a sugar-free iced Americano every morning before he gets to work. Every morning, I bring Elmer Hansen an iced Americano to his desk. The bottom of the iced American pressed the sticky notes I gave him. Good morning. I'm sorry, I'm really an elementary school chicken, and I really don't know how to pursue boys after so many years of being single. I stole and watched. Elmer Hansen seemed to have an iced Americano. He drank. If he drinks it, it means that he has a little bit of a crush on me, that he will like me later, and that it means where our children are going to school. Family. I'm confident again. I held my face at my desk and giggled. Okay, just dress a little more formally. There's no need to be such a nymphomaniac. Brother admits that brother is a little handsome. Curly-haired Bennett Johnny wears a black suit. His cheeks are quite red, and his hands are on the back of the chair in a pose that he thinks is handsome. I looked at him and said, yes, I feel like I'm still charming. What do you say? Bennett Johnny grinned. I was about to hit him back. Suddenly, the office fell silent. I raised my head, and sure enough, it was the leader who came to inspect the work. My eyes were all on Elmer Hansen. He was long, tall, his slender hands holding the coffee, and the joints of his fingers were slightly reddened. No matter how you look at it, I feel so handsome. Some people say that there must be something missing in the person you have a crush on. I really like cold mature men, probably because I'm an elementary school student. I looked at Elmer Hansen, and his eyes were straight at me. I couldn't dodge a single one, and I was staring at him. He smiled a small, but gentle, smile. It was like a sword that had been immersed in an ice fountain, and a small peach blossom suddenly fell on the tip of the sword. My face turned red instantly. I quickly lowered my head and thought to myself, he's smiling at me, isn't he? Isn't that an explanation? I still have a little bit of hope. This made me, who was afraid to send him a message, suddenly have confidence again. That night, I messaged him, I feel like I have hope again. Can I chase you? The other party did not reply. I'm also more motivated to pursue Elmer Hansen. Bring breakfast to Elmer Hansen every day, and ride a shared bicycle up 3 streets to buy time-honored dim sum. Go to work hard to type code, and complete your own work beautifully. Elmer Hansen responds to whatever he proposes. People in the office started saying bad things about me, calling me a thief. I suspect it's Bennett Johnny, who's a big mouth and a lazy man, because I actively went to work. I had a fever, and I didn't take the initiative to stay and work overtime after work today. Halfway through and found that I forgot to take the charger. I went back to the office to get the charger. When I walked to the office door, I heard voices inside. The voice was high, and my name was mentioned. Phoenix Beard left work early today, and he didn't roll again. Take a few bucks, and roll it up. She will flatter the capitalists. What does it have to do with her that the project is completed early or late? This voice is my colleague's. I burned a little dazed, and I stood outside not knowing if I wanted to go in. Suddenly, I heard a high-pitched voice inside. It's like a puppy getting angry. Shut up. Phoenix Beard finished her job early. She worked overtime to write your code. Because you didn't meet the needs and the project never worked. You're quite reasonable. It's Bennett Johnny's voice. And Bennett Johnny is defending me. Yes, I've been working overtime these days to get my colleague's code. No way. Elmer Hansen's project. I want him to finish it sooner. My head was aching and cold, but my forehead was surprisingly hot. I grabbed the doorknob and didn't press it down. Don't dare to go in and face them. I turned around and took the elevator downstairs. I was a little confused when I had a fever, and I didn't even notice when the elevator went to the underground garage on the second floor. But the scene in front of me made me instantly sober up in a daze. It's Elmer Hansen. In front of him was a beautiful woman in a white suit skirt, which I recognized. It was Nellie Johnny. Nellie Johnny is beautiful and noble, holding a large bouquet of white roses in her hand. Elmer Hansen was holding a little girl by the hand, and a shallow smile was on her lips. Did Nellie Johnny return home? The two of them are together. I've never seen Elmer Hansen smile so softly. The eyes that are always as calm as abyss seem to have spring water in them. I hid myself behind the black car and watched them silently. I saw Elmer Hansen hand the little girl the delicately packaged treats I had bought for him. 3 streets away, I saw Elmer Hansen open the door, and Nellie Johnny smiled brightly and naturally got into the passenger seat. I was probably burned a little harder. My face was so hot that it seemed to be burning with fire, and I propped one hand on the black car. It's a parking lot. Elmer Hansen's Mercedes is driving very slowly, and his car has to pass me to get out. I burned so badly that my head hurt so much, and my eyes seemed to be rolling with tears. In a blurred vision, the Mercedes that belonged to him slowly passed in front of me. I'm sure he saw me. Without any hesitation, his car drove out in front of me. It's like I never intended to stay in my world. I stared in amazement at the shadow of his car moving away. The soreness in my heart and the heat all over my body were intertwined, and they swept through my whole body in an instant. I couldn't hold it anymore, and crouched down and whimpered and cried, "I'm sorry, I'm so unproductive." The moment he ignored me and left, I finally knew one thing for sure. I don't have any hope at all. I've always been a beam jumping clowns. I decided to give up on Elmer Hansen. I confessed. I tried every way. I feel like I've put in all the effort to try to make things better. Since there is nothing you can do, it is better to give up calmly. I changed the note for Elmer Hansen from Mail God to Elmer Hansen. I drew a clear line for myself, and must not disturb him again. I never brought coffee to Elmer Hansen again, nor did I run a few streets to buy him snacks, let alone send him a wished message. In order to make it easier for me to go to work, I started to wear no makeup again, took off my suit skirt, and put on a sweatshirt and sweatpants. To thank Bennett Johnny for his words, I brought him a snack. Bennett Johnny laughed so hard that his eyes were crescents. He nodded as he ate and whispered to me, "Shocking melons. The iron tree is blooming, and our boss seems to have a girlfriend." My heart ached, my lips pursed and I didn't speak. My colleague who had turned my back to us seemed to be interested, and the chair turned and my eyebrows danced. "I know that one. It seems to be the eldest lady of Johnny's family, who is divorced and has a child. I don't think the boss is so good that he can't find a divorced woman." "What's wrong with the divorce?" "It's just a divorce. It's not a jail time. It's not a stain." Bennett Johnny choked. The male colleague on the opposite side was choked, turned back in the chair and muttered, "Okay, this good thing should also happen to you." I think Bennett Johnny's 3 views are quite right, and I give him a thumbs up. His crescent eyes became more obvious, and the curly hair was planted next to me at once, and he wanted to continue gossiping with me. Bennett Johnny said, "I don't think Elmer Hansen can beat a fart. He can't beat a stick and runs at 5 o'clock every day. Who can't talk to him? It seems to make some sense." I was amused by his muttering bad things about Elmer Hansen, and we were whispering with our heads tilted. The office fell silent suddenly. I heard a violent cough from the male colleague across from me. I looked up in fright, as if the air in the office had condensed a little, and the air conditioner was a little too cold. In front of him stood a thin and upright man, the tails of his eyes drooping slightly along the lower eyelids, revealing the man's shallowness and coldness. It was Elmer Hansen. His lips pursed tightly, and he didn't look very happy. I was so scared that my legs went limp, and Bennett Johnny wasn't nervous, so he pretended to lean in front of my computer and said, "Look at the program here. You're writing it wrong. It seems to be discussing work, but my desk is still blue and green." "Brother." Elmer Hansen looked at my head so close to Bennett Johnny, and he walked up to us. "Didn't look at me?" Just ask Bennett Johnny. Take a look at your progress. I did a little bit, Bennett Johnny said casually. 1/3 of the progress. This guy is really brave. Looking at Elmer Hansen's sinking face, I was going to get nervous. You have to finish it this week, or it will affect the docking later. Elmer Hansen's voice was cold. Yes, yes, yes. Bennett Johnny smiled. Elmer Hansen didn't say anything in the face of Bennett Johnny's smiling face. He paused and looked at him deeply. Let's get the work done before we talk. Phoenix Beard, she's busy, too. Okay, Phoenix Beard. Let's talk after work, Bennett Johnny said casually. I nodded confusedly. Elmer Hansen didn't say anything, except that in the evening, Bennett Johnny couldn't ask me to dinner, and he was left to work overtime. Bennett Johnny sent me a Weshit message. Boss in heaven, hands folded expression. After the project was completed, Elmer Hansen announced that he was going to his villa, on the outskirts of the city as a team building event. Bennett Johnny privately told me, go to team building on your day off. What a dog. He deserves to have no wife. I can't wait to give it a thumbs up. But there is no way. The boss has something to say. Who dares not to do it? We had to force a smile and let Elmer Hansen take us in his station wagon. There are a lot of people in the company's project team. Those who don't have a car follow the boss, and those who have a car drive themselves. Unified distribution of travel expenses. Elmer Hansen asked in the group, who's going to go with my car tomorrow? There was a moment of silence in the group. Jackson, James, Henry, Phoenix Beard, you in my car. Bennett Johnny, Phoenix Beard just come with me. I'll pick her up tomorrow. Wang Chai, unified from the company. Bennett Johnny, that's just her in my car. Phoenix Beard, thank you boss. I just took Bennett Johnny's car. Rose, Pleasant. There was a dead silence in the group of companies. On the third day, Bennett Johnny looked at Elmer Hansen in casual clothes with a dark face. He said with a calm face and a gentle voice, I'm limited to today. I'm not going to drive. Bennett Johnny, you don't mind if I ride in your car, do you? Elmer Hansen has at least 3 cars, so it's impossible to limit them all today, right? Bennett Johnny had a dark face and couldn't refuse, so he had to pretend to be happy. Okay, then Phoenix Beard, you can be in the passenger seat. Elmer Hansen looked at the cute Kulomi sticker that the passenger was wearing seemed to have just been pasted, and it said, baby's seat. He opened the passenger door with a neat movement and sat inside. I sat in the back seat. Bennett Johnny looked back at me and smiled. Even your Bluetooth. Let me hear what style of songs you like. I glanced at Elmer Hansen, who looked calm and didn't refuse. I turned on Bluetooth, and I prefer to listen to European and American songs, such as Taylor Swift's songs. The melodious and gentle voice resounded in the car. Which was my favorite? In the quiet car, a gentle and romantic prelude. Bennett Johnny hummed the song softly. Can you sing? I was a little surprised. Yes, I like to listen to this song too. What a coincidence. There is a little joy of meeting the same friends. I followed your Natisse cloud. I've listened to all the music you like. It's all good. It seems that we have similar preferences. Bennett Johnny has a pleasant voice. I sighed, opened my phone and looked at it with some surprise. Then the only fan of my Natisse cloud is you. Bennett Johnny's tone was hard to hide with pride. Somehow, the car suddenly fell silent. There was a stagnant chill in the air. The two of us had a great conversation, seemingly ignoring the co-driver's boss. I was a little embarrassed, but I didn't want to talk to Elmer Hansen. After all, I don't want to give him any more delusions. I don't want to bother him anymore, since it is already embarrassing. It is embarrassing to the end. I gritted my teeth and continued chatting with Bennett Johnny about the music and singers we loved. We talked all the way to the destination. As soon as he arrived at the door of the villa, Elmer Hansen opened the car door with a calm face, and got out of the car with long legs. As soon as he got out of the car, Bennett Johnny muttered, "It's an eyesore." I smiled wryly and got out of the car with Elmer Hansen. Elmer Hansen's villa has a large outdoor garden with tables and chairs, a barbecue station, and even a bar. A couple of us ladies were in charge of the light work, and I sat on the side washing the fruit. Male colleagues opposite were smoky barbecues in the garden. Everyone was a little unhappy about the barbecue on the rest day at first, but everyone was happy again. Even I, who was in a bad mood, couldn't help but smile. I noticed Elmer Hansen walking towards me, with a handful of skewers in his hand. His eyes looked straight at me, as if he wanted me to try his kebabs first. I was a little surprised, and subconsciously looked like I was about to dodge. But he walked towards me, with a determined step. When he was about to walk up to me, curly-haired Bennett Johnny suddenly trotted a few steps past him, and one hand handed me roasted chicken wings. I baked it. Can you taste it? Through Bennett Johnny, I saw Elmer Hansen stop, a sudden flash of darkness on his otherwise calm face. He clutched the string in his hand. The grease on it even dripped to his cuffs, and he didn't care about it at this time. Bennett Johnny's chicken wings were handed to my lips, and took away my attention. I took a bite and said, "It's delicious." I smiled at Bennett Johnny. "Then I'll bake a few more skewers for you." My delicious words seemed to reward him greatly, and Bennett Johnny rolled up his sleeves, and quickly plunged into the smoke. After baking, everyone sat at the table and chairs, drank and chatted. Everyone toasted Elmer Hansen, who drank it sip after sip. In the lonely moonlight, his dirty cuffs had reached his arms, revealing his long-term fitness and beautiful muscles. Usually calm and gentle, his whole body seemed to be tense at this time, and the muscles of his hand holding the wine glass burst out, revealing the tension that was once inconspicuous. I also drank a little bit of alcohol and kind of wanted to go to the toilet. I asked Elmer Hansen where the toilet was. Elmer Hansen stood up and said, "I'll take you." Everyone at the table was talking and laughing, and no one noticed the two of us. Bennett Johnny seemed to notice it, and was about to stand up, but was held down by a male colleague next to him to drink. I followed Elmer Hansen into the villa in a daze. I thought Elmer Hansen would give me a point. The villa is large and decorated in the cool and simple style that characterizes Elmer Hansen. He led me to the bathroom door. I thanked him and went to the bathroom. The toilet in the bathroom was very clean, and I took the toilet mat off to relieve it. Suddenly, the bathroom lights went out. No, it's not just the bathroom. It was all the lights in the villa. Outdoor lights were also turned off. I heard a loud and flustered sound outside. Damn, will there be a power outage in the villa? I had just finished my little relief, and after I wiped it clean in a panic, I was about to stand up with my pants lifted. The bathroom has no windows, no moonlight, and everything looks extraordinarily dark. Who knows why the rich man's bathroom is so big? It's also very dark. I fumbled for the bathroom door as I remembered entering the bathroom. On the way to the door, I tripped and fell. I was unsteady and sat down on the floor, my arm knocking over a bottle on the countertop in the process of finding support. The sound of the bottle breaking was crisp in the silence, and the bathroom suddenly filled the bathroom with a faint scent of musk and cedar. "Are you okay, Phoenix Beard?" I heard the cold voice of Elmer Hansen outside the door. Not just the sound of him talking, but the sound of the door being gently pushed. "I'm sorry, it's so dark. I fell and it seems to have broken your perfume," I said, but he didn't answer. The bathroom door lock clicked and the door seemed to be closed. There was a sudden silence in the bathroom, and all I could hear was his shivering and deliberately suppressed breathing. The silence and the sound of his breathing made me nervous inexplicably, and he was like a wounded man on the battlefield, suppressing his emotions of pain and struggle. I was a little scared, and I tried to stand up with my hands on the ground, but I accidentally touched the glass shards that had just splashed in front of me. The shards of glass slammed into my palm, and I screamed in pain. Then, I felt a hazy black shadow that seemed to envelop me. The sound of breathing was getting closer and closer to me, and the tip of Elmer Hansen's nose was almost touching my forehead. "You're hurt. Don't move. I'll help you up." "I'm sorry." I was a little nervous, and the pain in my palms made my voice tremble a little. Because it's so dark, all the other senses are infinitely magnified. The nose is haunted by the musk of cedar and the faint smell of wine from Elmer Hansen. His warm breath sprayed on my forehead, making me nervous and nervous. Suddenly, I felt a large, broad hand suddenly grasp my wrist, and then, as if it had found its target, slowly and suppressively draped over the back of my hand. "What for?" My voice was almost shattered. "I can get up on my own." In the quiet room, I could only hear the sound of his breathing, and the sound of my heart pounding like a drum. "Phoenix Beard, I'm jealous." That broad, warm hand squeezed my hand, and my injured hand was forced on his chest by him. I felt the blood in my palms running down his shirt, and the beating heart inside his shirt. "I like you." The sound of what was once like a calm pool of water is now like a black pool tumbling and splashing with waves. Hoarse and low. Phoenix beard. Do you still like me? The warm flap of my lips seemed to imprint on my forehead, and my mind went blank for a moment. Bennett Johnny's scream rang out outside the door. Phoenix beard, are you all right? I've found the center console, and the lights will be on in no time. With a bang, all the lights suddenly turned on. Like an incandescent sun, the bathroom door was kicked open. Elmer Hansen was gentlemanly dragging me from the ground. His voice calm and gentle. You fell. It's okay. It's fine. I stood up pretending nothing had happened. Bennett Johnny's amber eyes were fixed in one direction. I followed his gaze. It's a stain of blood on Elmer Hansen's crisp white shirt. Elmer Hansen looked at Bennett Johnny's dead gaze, and a smile suddenly appeared on his normally cold face. A gentle, even shy, but weird smile. When we went back that night, none of us spoke. I leaned back in the saddle and suddenly realized something. When the light came on, I tripped over my little stool. When I first went to the bathroom, it was placed under the sink in a proper manner. That night, my Natisse cloud pushed a message. One more fan of mine. I didn't care. I just had a lot of thoughts about what Elmer Hansen said to me today. Phoenix beard, do you still like me? It's false to say that I don't like it yet. I still like him a little, but I'm a little scared. Yes, I'm a little scared. In the dark room that day, he gasped for breath and smiled almost sickly. I'm afraid. This is not the Elmer Hansen I know. Elmer Hansen, whom I know, is gentle, helpful and self-motivated, instead of being like a dark madman. After that day, I was promoted. My office was raised to the floor of Elmer Hansen. To be precise, it's the desk directly opposite Elmer Hansen's private office. There was a camera pointed straight at me. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm fidgeting. Bennett Johnny was also very uncomfortable, and when I was packing up and moving, he pulled my clothes and said, I'll go and tell the leader. Just let you work where you are. Why change desks? But it was clear that Bennett Johnny's protest didn't work, and I changed offices anyway. I still work every day typing code, but I always feel a gaze on me. I got an extra coat. Before I got off work, I received a WeChat message from Elmer Hansen. You work an extra 2 hours in the evening. Why? Grass. Elmer Hansen is indeed a dog. Triple wages. Okay, Elmer Hansen, my good boss. In the evening, after everyone had left the building, I sat in my office and continued typing code. Triple wages are still a bit fragrant. I was typing the code and was having fun typing, when the door to Elmer Hansen's office opened in front of me. Elmer Hansen walked in from inside in a suit. I looked up and said, Hello boss. After saying this, I realized that there were only 2 people in this huge office, Elmer Hansen and me. Elmer Hansen walked up to me, pulled a stool and sat next to me, and watched me type code. I was a little nervous, but my hands didn't stop crackling. There was some silence in the room for a while. Only the sound of the keyboard could be heard. Then I heard his gentle voice. Do you remember my last question? Heh. My keyboard tapping hand paused, and the sound of the keyboard stopped abruptly. Do you still like me? I don't like it. I said it almost without even thinking about it. I want to be in a normal relationship, not to be a clown, a licking dog. As soon as I said that, I went to look at his face. He didn't know when he stood behind me, leaned down, and put 2 hands on my keyboard. You're coding the wrong code here. His voice was gentle, and with a pair of slender white hands tapping on the keyboard, he corrected my wrong code. I realized that my little self had been shrouded in a small space, in front of the office chair and computer. It's as if he's in his arms. I don't like you anymore. I repeat it again. That's not good. I don't like the feeling of being tied down. He straightened up and withdrew his hand, his eyebrows slightly raised. Phoenix beard, we're all adults. In just a few days, have you changed your mind? Why don't you want to try it with me? We've known each other for so many years, and we know the roots. His voice was gentle, even with a hint of demagogy. However, I thought about the parking lot that day, and it made me a little miserable. I had to say bluntly, I saw you and Nellie Johnny in the parking lot that day. As soon as I finished saying this, Elmer Hansen's eyebrows seemed to freeze for a moment, and his brow furrowed unconsciously. Nellie Johnny and I are not in the relationship you think we are. She's getting divorced with a child. She came to me that day to get me to be an intermediary and contact a lawyer for a divorce lawsuit. I did see you, but it was a rush that day," Elmer Hansen explains. Elmer Hansen put away his smile, and with a distressed look on his face, "So you didn't accept me because of this?" He seemed ready to explain it to me. "I've had a crush on you for many years, just to confess to you, and it took me a long time to mentally struggle to muster up the courage to find you." I looked into his clear eyes, and said word by word, "That day, I had a fever, but I still kept working, because you are the person in charge of this project. I finished my work, and I helped my colleagues, so I wanted to finish it as soon as possible. I was dizzy with a fever and accidentally pressed the wrong elevator, and I got to the parking lot, and saw you and Nelly Johnny. I know, you and Nelly Johnny have nothing to do with each other. If you had an affair, it would have been a long time ago. I just found out that you still like her. You like her so much that you can't see me in the corner all the time. Or you see it, it's just you don't care." I paused for a moment and said with a wry smile, "I like you. I chase you because I want to be your lover, the protagonist in your eyes, not always a substitute, a person in a corner. You didn't try. How do you know you're not going to be my protagonist?" Elmer Hansen looked at me, a certain sadness flashing in his eyes, and he took my hand almost eagerly. I broke free of his hand, looked him in the eye, and said in a calm voice, "I tried, Elmer Hansen. It's not that I haven't worked hard. I bought the snacks I brought to you every day on a shared bicycle for several streets, and I had to go through 15 traffic lights because you said you loved food." My voice unconsciously raised. "It's not just the effort after the confession. Before I confessed, during my college years, when I was working in your studio, every day and night, the drinking water in your office never seemed to stop. I went to find someone to change it. There was no elevator on the 5th floor at that time, and the master was unwilling to send it upstairs. 18 liters of water. I carried it up to the 5th floor to change it for you. After graduating from university, the first project was successful. You drank too much. I couldn't drive. I rode your bicycle to drive you home. You fell in the flower bed. I cried and dragged you, carried you back home. Later, you became the boss, and you never lost your temper again. I know you have a stomach ache, so the company's snack cabinet always has a box of stomach medicine. Someone will take it, but the next day it will be replenished." Elmer Hansen, "I've been seen many times in your life from college until I confess. Have you seen me? Speaking of which, I seem relieved." The stone that pressed on the heart and made my heart sore and uneasy finally fell, and shattered. My tears flowed unconsciously, but I wiped them away gently. "It's over. I don't just care about the day in the parking lot. You could say it was the last straw that broke me, Elmer Hansen. I'm really giving up on you." Elmer Hansen's brow furrowed as I spoke. What was he thinking? Do you finally remember that I was always by his side? It doesn't matter if you can't remember, because it's all in the past. I've liked you. I've paid for you. It's all something I'm willing to do. You haven't noticed, and it's only natural that I give up on you. It was already dark outside the window, and the lights in the high-rise buildings outside the window were gradually turning on, like stars in the inky night sky. Our house is also one of the incandescent stars. In the light of the light, Elmer Hansen's expression was very clear. He seemed to remember something. His lips moved. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't say anything. Finally, he took my hand. I saw his calm expression shatter little by little, and I saw a little redness in his deep eyes. His voice was a little hoarse. "Phoenix Beard, I'm sorry. It's okay, Elmer Hansen. We can be friends. It's all gone, and I don't like you anymore." I smiled calmly. He shrugged his shoulders generously, and Elmer Hansen's voice suddenly rang in his ears. "But Phoenix Beard, I can't get up." After that day, I went back to my office downstairs. We all tacitly didn't mention what happened that night. Just the next day, I had 2 boxes of snacks on my desk. I turned on my phone, and received a WeChat message from Elmer Hansen, and a photo of him riding a shared bike. I rode about 6 streets and passed 15 traffic lights. The road is very long, and the cycle path is occupied by vehicles and small vendors, which is very congested, and you have to stop and go to stop. When I walked this path, I knew what you went through. What mood did you have when you walked through the noisy crowds and dirty streets? I didn't reply. Why did he also write a small composition? I'm back to my former studio today, which was nothing more than a rented house. The landlord was surprised to see me. She told me a lot of things I didn't know. It turned out that the water in the studio has been you changing, and the sanitation is you cleaning. Even the fortune tree in the studio, you are watering it. Elmer Hansen started bringing me breakfast every day with small cakes. He said, you can stay put, or you can retreat, and then I will chase you. I thought about it and replied, some things are gone and they can't be recovered. I just want to be friends with you, or leaders and subordinates. The other side has been typing, but no message has been sent. It seems that the other party has been pondering his language. After a while, the phone rang. Elmer Hansen has always been concise and to the point, and he rarely sends me such a large number of words. Phoenix Beard, you are a very nice person. I always knew that you were a very good person. Before that, my life was in a good way. I never thought I would like you, but I was tempted. I saw you sitting with other boys. You laughed, and I felt jealousy. Jealousy almost makes me unable to control my sanity. I want to go over and pull you away, and I also want to use my boss status to scold and blame him. Phoenix Beard, I like you. I always thought I liked Nellie Johnny because she was there for me since I was a child. But when I lost her, I didn't feel sorry. But I clearly feel that if I miss you, I will regret it very much. I have never felt so powerless and regretful. I just want you to examine me for a while. I can't do nothing. I read the news of Elmer Hansen, and to be honest, Elmer Hansen is actually in a bit like I used to be. I looked at the delicate cake on the table with some blankness. Suddenly, a hairy head popped out next to my shoulder. Phoenix Beard, what are you looking at the cake? Give me a taste. Bennett Johnny's smile catches the eye. He came to me in a big way, but he didn't give me a sense of crossing the line, but was very kind. Then you can open it and take a bite. As soon as I finished speaking, Bennett Johnny quickly opened the cake. With a click, the moment the silk was torn apart, a fluttering card seemed to fall to the ground. I was a little curious and was about to pick it up. Bennett Johnny stepped on it with his foot. He picked it up curiously, and said in a clear voice, Black Swan wishes you a pleasant meal. That's what is written on the card, Bennett Johnny said, casually folding the card and throwing it in the trash. Because the follow-up of the project we developed was quite good, it was rumored in the company that Elmer Hansen was going back to the headquarters. At a young age, he was already a company executive, and his future was immeasurable after returning to the headquarters. Elmer Hansen told me, the company moved me back to the headquarters and gave me a metric. I'm going to take you back to HQ with me. What does it mean to go back to headquarters? We have to go back to the first-tier cities, and maybe even go abroad for a long time in the future. Basically won't ever return to the city again. This is Elmer Hansen's hometown, and he says, Nellie Johnny will always be in this city, and I will hardly see her again. I'll let her do her own thing. Let's go to the headquarters together. Elmer Hansen, with a certain predatory look in his eyes, looked at me quietly. You've always been the protagonist, and I won't even give anyone else a chance to play a supporting role. Even if you don't choose me in the end, after going to headquarters, your salary and development opportunities will be doubled. Phoenix Beard, I'll take you alone. He lowered his voice and spoke slowly. It's like, when you were in college, can you follow your seniors? Like the bewitching and hoarse voice of the mermaid of the deep sea, he picked up the most charming and seductive treasure. Even if I don't like him as a person, it's hard for me to turn down salary and development opportunities. As long as I went to the headquarters with him, I didn't know each other well, and I worked under him. Elmer Hansen had the confidence to soften me. Damn, this guy is so smart. I can't play with him. When I hesitated, Bennett Johnny sent me a Weshit message. Phoenix Beard, go downstairs. I'm downstairs from your house. I was a little puzzled, and poked my head out of the window to see Bennett Johnny in a gray sweatshirt with brown curly hair, in the middle of the night. He seemed to spot me, and grinned in my direction. I snorted downstairs in my slippers. What's wrong? I ate your cake last time, and I made it up to you. He reached out and handed me a cake box. Looking at the logo of the cake, I know this brand. This brand is not available in this city, only the city next door. Internet celebrity brand. You're going to the next city? I asked. I saw it on the internet, and I said that I would buy this cake for whoever I liked. And I drove there and came back in one day. Bennett Johnny's eyes are smiling, and his eyes are clear and soft. You're not too far away. I haven't heard Bennett Johnny yet. Suddenly, as if I realized something, I looked up at him, in a bit of a daze. His cheeks were still flushed, and his eyes were like diamonds under the curls. Phoenix Beard, I apologize to you first. I threw the card in the trash that day, and it was actually Elmer Hansen's confession. He stuttered a little, as if he was afraid that I would not forgive him. He panicked and eager. I was in a daze that day. I actually noticed it a long time ago, and I have always been. I like you too. He raised his head and said loudly, his eyes shining at me. My heart was slammed, and his eyes looked at me earnestly and sincerely, and I could see in his beautiful amber eyes that there was a small blushing me inside. I know you and Elmer Hansen are from the same school, and I can probably guess you. Him, Bennett Johnny muttered, his voice low, as if he didn't want to admit it. He drooped his head like a frustrated puppy. Then he plucked up the courage and said, but I know you didn't promise him, and I think I still have a chance, and I have to tell you, or I'll regret it for the rest of my life. His hot, reckless eyes slammed straight into me. It's kind of like me used to be. I subconsciously clenched the cake box and said, what if I refuse you? It doesn't matter if you reject me. A confession is an expression of your heart, not a request for a relationship. I confess because I want to tell you that you are a very good girl. The curly-haired puppy stood in front of me, and I realized that he was really tall, almost 9 meters tall, with a tall figure. His cheeks were already red, like ripe red fruit. The street lamp illuminated his eyebrows brightly. His eyebrows bulged, and his eyes looked straight at me like blazing flames. But there was no plunder, only warmth and sincerity. I'm a little moved, but it's not enough for me to promise your confession. I lowered my voice and said frankly, I'm going to follow Elmer Hansen back to HQ too. That's right. Bennett Johnny's tense shoulders relaxed at this moment, and he shrugged his shoulders as if he hadn't done it yet. It's okay, we've always been friends, right? His eyes looked at me, a little evasively, and I realized that his eye sockets were already red. The puppy's voice was a little crying. I didn't know how to comfort him, so I hurriedly said sorry and went upstairs. I saw through the upstairs window that Bennett Johnny was standing there, wiped his eyes hard, and turned away. After a while, I received a Weshit message. Bennett Johnny is a cute meme that looks very sunny happy line puppy. Bennett Johnny, Phoenix Beard is a good friend. I hope you have a smooth job at the headquarters, and if you are not happy, please call me. I went to the headquarters with Elmer Hansen. Elmer Hansen knew I didn't want to be in a relationship just yet, and he didn't pester me, so we both focused on our work. The main reason is that there are too many villains and intrigues in the headquarters. Although he has a lot of eyes, he puts it on me, partly on work, and partly busy. After a month at the headquarters, the company transferred another person. It is said that he took the path of the CEO, and parachuted a relational household. We all went over curiously to see who it was. What catches my eye is a tall man, who smiles and shows his small tiger teeth. Hello everyone. My name is Bennett Johnny. I just came over and bought a Starbucks for my brothers and sisters. Elmer Hansen stood behind me, with a gloomy complexion. Extra. Elmer Hansen knew that Phoenix Beard and Bennett Johnny were married. He didn't smoke that day, but he sat at the top of the building, and he lit a cigarette in front of the floor-to-ceiling window looking at the glittering lights outside. Beneath the smoke was his lonely face. He still lost. In fact, he had long expected that he would lose. And the man named Bennett Johnny was the only son of the company's CEO. One word from him could have prevented Phoenix Beard from coming to headquarters with him, but he didn't. If it were him, he would control the Phoenix Beard. He likes to be in control and doesn't like the feeling of things being out of control. Bennett Johnny came to him, and he wasn't really that cheerful and innocent, and he asked Elmer Hansen, what is like? To like someone is to make her always bright, not to suffer from gains and losses, and not to consume emotions. The man was straightforward and clear. I confessed to Phoenix Beard 62 times, and she promised me. At that time, Elmer Hansen was not convinced. He took off his blazer, and decided for the first time that he wanted to punch this stinky boy, who didn't know what to do. But then the man raised an eyebrow and smiled at him. He said, "You've had Phoenix Beard breakdown many times, and I've never had one. Elmer Hansen, you have made her doubt many times that she is not worthy of love, and you have made her even accustomed to the feeling of being ignored, and I have to make up for it little by little. She was deliberate when she chose to accept me, and she chose to give up on you as well." Elmer Hansen's calm sanity collapsed in front of this man. Elmer Hansen still maintains the dignity of an adult. His voice is low, pretending to be calm and indifferent. "If you don't treat her well, I still have a chance." "You'll never have a chance." Bennett Johnny smiled, with a piercing sharpness and brightness. Later, it became a prophecy. After 3 years of their relationship, Bennett Johnny gave Phoenix Beard the most passionate and romantic marriage proposal and ceremony. Elmer Hansen couldn't say how he felt in his heart. He was almost 30 years old. You shouldn't be so emotionally fluctuating like a student for the sake of feelings. But Elmer Hansen curled up on a leather sofa. The room was pitch black, with only the tall buildings and the brightly lit windows outside. His tears seemed to be uncontrollable, gurgling out of his eyes. "The thing I regret the most is not missing out but losing what you once had. You didn't care. Only after losing is you aware of it." The most unsettled,